So you finally decided to try out the best ARPG out there, Path of Exile. Spawned at the beach, killed a few enemies, leveled up, opened the passive skill tree, and what the fuck? And you know what the best part is? That is just the beginning. So my goal for this video is not to explain in detail every system in the game, because that is not what you need, and that is also not what you want. You want to start playing the game as soon as possible, without spending 10 hours watching guides on stuff that you will probably forget anyways. Also do know that there is a new expansion about to come out and shit will get reward. So there's even more reason to not go in detail over each different system or anything like that. I'll just focus on the core. That is the stuff that you need in order to actually start playing the game. So we'll go over the basics like skill gems, gear, maps, currency, and some external tools you may need, like for example loot filters. So yeah, let's start from the beginning. First you'll need to create your character. Make sure that you start your character in the current league. Right now it's Heist. A new league comes out every 3 months or so and includes all the new content. When a league ends, all of what you accomplished during the league is transferred to standard. No one plays standard anyways. You can play softcore or hardcore. Hardcore means that when you die your character, is completely dead, so say goodbye. And softcore, you can die as many times as you want. You can also choose to play solo self-found, which means that you cannot co-op nor trade with other players. So yeah, if it's your first time playing, you don't know what to choose, just choose normal softcore current league. Okay? Then you will have to choose your class. I strongly recommend you not to try and make your own build the first time you play. This might be a little controversial, but you don't know how the game works. Your build will 100% suck, and when or even if you get to the end game, you won't be able to do that content and you will probably have to reroll another character, and you really don't want to do that. So following a build will simplify the skill tree so that you can worry about the rest of the game, at least the first time you play. Okay, so how do we pick a build? There are many sites where you can get your builds. For example, here we are in PoE builds. Here we have melee, range, spell, minion builds, so all the different type of builds. Here are the most popular ones. We can pick one at random. This one says league start, that's great, pick one that says league start, that means it's good to start from scratch without any gear. And they usually include videos to see how it plays, the gear, the gems, right? Here we have the gear, so the items that we need, the gems that we need, we will talk about this later, the flasks. And down here probably, we have the leveling, so it shows you how the tree should look like at different levels. Right, so if we go into this one, here we have the tree and how we should be leveling up as we progress through the campaign, right? So let's go back. The class is the one you pick when creating the character. So this is Templar, Shadow, Marauder, Scion, Ranger, Duelist, and Sorcerer. Each class has 3 ascendancies that heavily augment that class for a certain type of build. As you progress through the campaign, you will find these rooms called Trials of Ascendancy. Make sure to complete them as you find them, so you don't have to come back later. In Act 3 there is a statue that shows you which ones you completed thus far. If you complete them all, a door will open and it will teleport you to the lab. The lab is pretty straightforward, just go through it, kill the enemies, kill the boss, and after you finish the lab for the first time, you will get your Ascendancy. There are 4 lab difficulties. You can improve your Ascendancy after beating each of them. Here I'm playing a Duelist and I choose Gladiator as my Ascendancy. Check your build for whatever Ascendancy you have to pick. After choosing your Ascendancy, you can spec into it through the passive tree. You get 2 points for each lab difficulty, for a total of 8. By the way, you can enchant gear in the lab, keep that in mind for later. Alright, before talking about gear, we need to mention loot filters. Why the fuck do I need a loot filter? If you don't have a loot filter, the sheer amount of useless drop you get will prevent you from seeing the potentially good stuff. So this is 100% required. You cannot play PoE without a loot filter. Period. A loot filter is just that. It filters the loot you get, only showing you stuff that might be useful. By holding down shift, you can still see everything. Getting a loot filter is super easy. Just go to filterblade.com. In this site you can modify your filter. Just use the regular one to start with and go to download. You can either sync with PoE or just download the file and follow the instruction here. So copy it under documents, my game, Path of Exile, and then in game you can go to the UI tab and select the filters that you just pasted. You may have different levels of strictness. The higher the level, the more stuff that is gonna get hidden. Okay, enough of that. Let's talk gear. Gear in this game is fucking awesome, primarily because of how complex it is. Rarity goes white normal, blue magic, yellow rare, and unique. Let's take a look at the stats. Starting from the top, in the case of weapons, we have the damage, the critical strike chance, the attacks per second, and the range. In the case of armor, they provide defensive stats. These are energy shield, armor, and evasion. Everything I just mentioned gets improved with item quality, which usually goes up to 20%. Next, we may find an enchantment. Enchantments are small upgrades that you can get at the end of the lab or through other minions. They are not worth worrying about when you're just starting. They are really small upgrades, so yeah, don't worry about them. Then we have implicit modifiers. These are tied to an item base. For example here, this Void Scepter gives me 40% increased elemental damage. All Void Scepters will provide me with the same bonus. Implicit modifiers are one of the main reasons why some base items are more sought after than their counterparts. Finally, at the bottom we can find the affixes. They are divided in prefixes and suffixes with a maximum of 3 of each. It's important to know the difference here. For example, in armor, maximum life can only roll as a prefix. So if your item already has 3 prefixes and none of them is life, then you won't be able to get maximum life in that piece of gear. I will link in the description a site called PoE Affix where you can find all the different affixes for all the different type of items. You can see that there is a tier attached to every affix. The maximum tier is tier 1. Items might be able to get to that tier depending on their item level. Oh, and by the way, you can hold shift when inspecting an item to see all the details. Before continuing, I want to talk really quick about the character screen. Here you can see your level, your life, mana, energy shield, your base stats, strength, intelligence, and dexterity, and I especially want to talk about resistances. The elemental resistances are fire, cold, and lightning, and then you also have chaos resistance. Resistances cap at 75%, so going over that has no meaning. Now, you need to make sure that by the end of the campaign, you have your resistances capped, or you will get one-shot constantly. Don't worry about chaos resistance though, it's pretty hard to get, and yeah, just don't worry about that one. Your main source of resistances is your gear, so you need to make sure that you balance the resistances around in order to have them all capped. This can be a pain in the ass, but you just have to deal with it. Skills. They come in the form of gems. You equip them in your gear sockets as long as they are of the matching color. There are active skills and support skills. Active skills are the ones that you actively use, like a fireball or an aura that you activate, while support skills improve active skills that they are linked to. What do I mean by this? Let's see an example. Here I have this chest with 3 blue sockets, all of them linked, so this will be a 3 link. Now, I want to use this spell called Crackling Lance. If I slot it in, I can just use it. On the other sockets, I can equip support gems to make my Crackling Lance more powerful. So let's add a faster casting support, which gives me more cast speed, and a critical strike support, which gives me more critical strike chance. If we inspect the tooltip, we can actually see the effects of the support gems on top of the base Crackling Lance stats. Depending on the item, we may get up to 6 linked sockets, for example this armor over here. One of the most common mistakes on new players is not paying enough attention to the links. Going from 2 to 3 links or from 3 to 4 are massive upgrades. Getting a 4 link is really easy, so try to get your main skill on a 4 link as soon as possible. Remember to rearrange your skills here in the UI, you have even more slots if you hold down Alt. Alright, next is currency. There are a ton of different currencies. The cool thing in this game is that currency is used for crafting, but also for buying things from other players, so you can always choose between using it yourself or using it to buy something. You can read their descriptions, but let's go over the basic ones really quick. We have the scrolls for identifying items and TPing back to town. Transmutation orbs upgrades a normal item to a magic item. Alteration orb rerolls a magic item. Alchemy orbs upgrades a normal item to a rare item. This is usually used in maps, we'll talk about that later. Chaos orb is like the currency unit, you will most likely buy stuff from other players in Chaos orb. And if you use it on an item, it rerolls a yellow item. Jeweler's orb rerolls the number of sockets on an item. Fusions rerolls the number of links on an item. Chromatic orbs rerolls the color of sockets on an item. Scouring orbs removes all the modifiers and turns the item back to normal. And then we have the currency for improving quality of items, one for each type of item, from weapons to maps. Before moving on, there are what are called vendor recipes. This is selling specific items to a vendor in exchange for a particular outcome. Some really useful ones are a 6-socket item for 6 jeweler orbs, a 6-link item for a divine orb, a transmute orb for 4 identification scrolls, and items with 3 linked sockets, one of each color, for a chromatic orb. Maps. After you finish the main campaign, the game begins in the form of maps. Maps are the main in-game system. This is a map. They drop from enemies or you can buy them from either other players or Sana. You put them in the map device and portals to said map will open. Go in, kill the boss, get loot, get out. Just like your gear, maps have modifiers. They will increase the item quantity, item rarity, and monster pack size. They go from tier 1 to tier 16, especially on higher tier maps. We usually use alchemy orbs to improve their rewards. If we open the atlas, we can see all the maps. Yet again, this is a system that is overcomplicated to explain but pretty simple to understand by just playing. You will start from the corner of the atlas and slowly make your ways towards the center. Now, what's this on the right side? Those are the masters. Throughout the campaign, you will find the different masters. Each master has its own kind of activities and systems going on. Each league usually has a master along with their mechanics. Talk to them, do what they ask you to do, and they will become permanently available in your hideout. In the map device, you will see the master missions below. If you select one, then the master will appear in the map. As an example, this is Nico. We can talk to him, he will send us to the Delve area. Delve was the league where Nico was introduced. In Delve, we have this huge mechanic where we can pretty much endlessly go deeper into this mine and get rewards as we advance. You can place the masters in your hideout. The hideout is where you will spend most of your idle time. It's your personal area, which you can edit as you please. Make sure that you place every NPC, a map device, and your stash. So from here you can go into whatever activity you want and TP back to sell items and so on. Trading. Trading with other players is not required, but it's really fun to engage with and it makes your life way easier when it comes to finding the gear that you need. Once again, we need external tools. You could technically use the in-game chat, but it's a mess, don't use it. Here we have the official trade site. At the top, there's a filter we can use to search whatever we need. So let's say we want boots with movement speed. Boom! I like these ones. We click here, paste that in chat, which whispers the player that is selling them. Now we wait for them to invite us, TP to their hideout, and complete the trade. You shouldn't worry too much about trading until you finish the campaign, unless you need a really specific item like a unique that enables your build. Okay, cool. Now how do I go about selling items? Oh boy, what a segue. For that we need to get into stash tabs. Just bear with me here a little bit. By now you're familiar with the stash. Your stash is shared between characters. You will start with 4 default stash tabs, which will be about enough to get you to the point where you know if you really like the game and you may want to spend some money on it. Path of Exile is a free to play, but in reality, if you really want to play it for a longish time, it's kind of like a $20 to $30 game. If you like the game, then you should buy some stash tabs. You can buy stash tabs in the in-game store, but for this you need points. Points can be bought alone or through packs that have some extra shit in there. They cost about the same as the points they give you anyways. For example, the first blood pack gives you an extra stash tab, normal one by the way, and 200 points. Or you can go ham and just buy one of the more expensive ones. There are some special tabs, like the currency one that I showed before. You should consider buying them in the following order. First, the currency tab, that one is 100% worth it. At least one premium tab, and finally the maps tab. Stash tabs go on sale every 3 weeks, so do not buy them unless they are on sale. So I just said you should get at least one premium tab. They are needed to put items up for sale. Let's say I want to sell this chest. We need a premium tab, we can set it to public, each item individually priced. Put the chest in, set a price, exact price. We have here the different currencies. Let's say, I don't know, 2 chaos orbs, and blah. It's now up for sale and it will show up on PoE Trade or whatever site you use. Okay, getting close to the end. Let's do some quick tips and things I skipped. If you left click a skill, you can choose to always attack without moving. This is great so your character doesn't walk if the target is out of range. Also, instead of attacking with left click, switch it to walk, since you won't be auto attacking anyway after the first level. You can actually equip 2 sets of weapons. Builds generally don't use this mechanic, but you can level up extra gems by equipping them on your second set of weapons. Sometimes you don't want to level up a skill all the way up to 20 because the mana cost is too much or maybe you don't meet the requirements. You can right click on the level pop-up to hide it. It will still appear in your inventory. Weapons, armor, skill gems, flasks, maps, they all have quality stats up to 20. Upgrading skill gems can get expensive. You can trade in a level 20 gem plus a gem cutter prism to any vendor to get a level 1 20 quality gem. When applying quality increasing currency to an item, if the item is normal rarity, then it will increase its quality by 5%. So in the case of maps, remember to chisel them before applying the alch. You can use the crafting bench in your hideout. This includes adding affixes and ensuring socket colors. I haven't talked about flasks because they are really obvious. One tip is to equip a Quicksilver flask as soon as you get one to move faster through the campaign. Another thing is to not be afraid to use currency, especially when just starting. I remember I tried to hoard everything, but in reality when you're just starting there is nothing that isn't replaceable and you will end up getting a lot of transmutation orbs, alteration orbs, chromatic orbs, so just go ahead and use them, you'll get more in no time. Okay, one more thing. POB. Path of Building is a community-made program that allows you to edit and see your build outside of the game. It's great for making builds from scratch, but also to visualize builds that other players make. Whatever build you choose to play will likely provide you with a POB paste bin. Paste that in here to import that build into Path of Building. You can then see the passive skill tree, the gear, and the skills. Alrighty, we got to the end. Now get back to the bitch and start grinding! I will link in the description the sites that I mentioned, along with some other useful ones that are great to keep around when you're playing. If you have any questions, ask away in the comments. Don't forget to like and shut the fuck up. Shut up. Subscribe! No, I forgot fishing!